personal direct hypnosis or hypnotherapy is much more effective than listening to recordings. Now, what is amazing about hypnosis is it doesn't overcome things, but it can kind of switch things around. It can make you, because you're playing with the subconscious mind, it can help change patterns that have been going on in this time in the subconscious mind a long time.
But I guess, is there anything you're really excited about in the AI space with hypnotherapy? Anything that's up and
Just
coming?
excited to see where it all goes. And like I said, I'm a little uncertain and a little terrified too, but there are great use cases for it. And I'm excited to work on this one and talk to more people about it, discover more potential use cases for it. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, I want people to live their best lives. That's kind of it. And to the extent that I can help them in any way I can help them, I want to be able to do that.
Welcome to the Brainwaves podcast by Opus, where we sit down with industry leaders to unpack their journeys, explore key challenges, and talk about how they're shaping the future of behavioral health and healthcare technologies. I'm your host, Sean Rickenbacker, and today we're speaking with Michelle Walters, a clinical hypnotherapist and creator of Make My Hypno. Michelle's path runs from corporate marketing to the therapy room to building an AI-assisted way to deliver personalized hypnosis. We'll talk about her personal turning point, what actually happens in effective hypnosis, and how creativity plus technology can help people get unstuck. Thanks again, Michelle, for joining me today. It's great to have you on the show.
Delighted to be here. Thank you.
I run the marketing here at Opus, so I totally get the corporate marketing thing. Tell me what led you to go from marketing to hypnotherapy.
Okay, so I did marketing for years. I really loved marketing because it allowed me to be creative and to be persuasive. And I happened to come out of business school, like at the time the internet just bloomed. So it was a great time to work in that field. And I loved it. And I like tech too, I guess. And so I worked in that field for a long time. And then one day I literally read a book. I read a novel by one of my favorite authors called The Hypnotist Love Story. And I was like, this lady has the coolest job. I want to do that. So I Googled and found a school that ran on the weekends, and I went on the weekends, and I thought, oh, I'll just take a session, maybe two. And then I was like, I love this. I want to do more. And so I wound up doing the whole program. And this was kind of at the beginning and just into the beginning part of COVID. And I loved it very much. And then in COVID, my whole life kind of like everything changed. And I knew that if I was ever going to make a dramatic career change, this would be a really good time because everybody was doing it. So I hung up a shingle and opened an office and started seeing people using that clinical hypnotherapy certificate and have been helping people ever since. I love doing it. A lot of people are like, marketing and hypnotherapy? Like, huh? And I'm like, think about it. It's not that. I mean,
It's
the
same,
marketing
but
part
different.
involves a technical skill set that is not the same thing as what you need. There's a technical skill set for hypnosis, but they're distinct. But both of them are about how people think and about changing the way people think to be able to do new things, to be able to get past bad habits, to be able to release trauma, to lose weight or quit smoking. And so I love being able to do this job the way I have it structured right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And one thing, obviously, I talked to a lot of people, and one thing I hear over and over again is the impact COVID has on people's trajectories in their careers. You know, like everybody's doing their standard corporate thing. I hear it all the time. They're in corporate up until COVID. And then, like you said, everybody's doing it. That's the time to change. So love
It
that.
was a good time to change. And looking at how marketing is changing and how AI is coming to do all kinds of different things, including things we're going to talk about, I'm glad it was a good time for me to branch out and do something new.
Definitely. And love that. Love that. As you mentioned, like obviously you're in the hypnotherapy space. For laymen like myself, tell me more about hypnotherapy. Like what kind of stuff do you do? What do you help treat?
So my work in hypnotherapy does not a bajillion, but a lot of different things. The technique is that it actually affects the brain waves in your brain, in certain parts of your brain, dials them down, and then it allows you to kind of get out of your own way and solve problems that you might not have been able to solve completely at the conscious level. And so, my work in hypnotherapy, I work with people who have habits they want to let go of, like smoking or weight loss. I also worked with a lot of people for weird little tics and hair pulling and stuff like that. Pretty good at that. I also work with people who have phobias, people who don't know why they're afraid of something, maybe, but are terribly afraid of heights or terribly afraid of bee stings, that kind of thing. And I also work with people who are struggling with relationship problems. Maybe it's relationships with people at work, maybe it's personal relationships. Relationships really work great. You can do a lot of healing work in hypnotherapy, and I also help people in business, which sounds a little weird, but people in business have confidence issues, they get overwhelmed, they get stressed, they start new jobs, and so hypnotherapy can be really helpful for learning how to reshape your brain and your thoughts in order to put them into more productive directions.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, obviously being in business, I totally get the imposter syndrome and all these things I imagine you see on the daily.
Yep.
As far as Make My Hypno compared to just like running a hypnotherapy organization, like what made you just make the decision to create a whole app and kind of like use AI to
Yeah.
do the hypnotherapy?
So it is really a leading app right now in terms of like, I don't think there's really anybody doing quite what I'm doing with it. A big part of hypnotherapy for many clients, not all of my clients, but for many people, is self hypnosis. And that is where you're maybe listening to a recording or you're repeating something while you're in that trance state. Because when you are talking to your brain and mind at that trance state level, you can accomplish a lot more because the brain waves change in certain parts of your brain and it makes you more open to suggestion, more dissociated from your body, more ready for change. And so I record, and there's probably thousands of people who record for apps like Calm or Insight Timer or that kind of a thing. People go to those apps to listen to pre recorded sessions to help you relax or help you lose weight or help you do whatever. And I was like, well, this is really cool that I could do something with AI that would customize that experience. So as opposed to you going and getting a pre recorded thing for anybody who wants to exercise more, we can make one now that uses my voice, my metaphors, my style, all of that combined with some specific inputs from the client. So it can have your name, Sean, right there in the recording. And it can be wherever you want to feel relaxed. If you feel relaxed in a forest, it's in a forest. If you want to be in your bedroom, it can be in your bedroom. And then there's a way to add in additional thoughts to incorporate in it. And as I tested it, I was like, okay, it's not as good as me,
Yep, yep.
but it's pretty darn good. And why not put it out there and start letting people experiment with this? Because as I've gone through and tested it, I've put in what would you call it? Some sort of gates, some sort of checking mechanisms, that kind of a thing. But the results that I'm seeing in terms of what we're able to make with it are just they're really pretty good. They're good. I don't know that they're awesome yet, but we'll get them to awesome. I just need more user feedback.
Yeah, totally. Totally get that. I mean, that's awesome in and of itself. Like you mentioned before, with all these AI enhancements and crazy things happening in the business marketing world, like this is a lot of really cool stuff that's possible.
It's amazing what's possible. So, I collect this information from my user and in about 5 minutes their script is emailed directly to them. So, and I set it up specifically that way because I want people to be able to save their recording to their phone or their computer or their tablet by their bedside. Because part of what makes hypnotherapy very effective, and particularly self hypnosis, is the repetition, right? And so I want your recording to be so easy that you can listen to it every night or every other night. And you can listen to it as you're falling asleep. If you fall asleep and you don't hear the whole thing or don't remember having heard it, it's fine. It doesn't matter because your subconscious still hears even when you're sleeping. So it's a powerful thing and it's exciting to bring technology to a new space.
Absolutely. And I imagine like because you are only able to see X amount of patients per day, per week, month, et cetera. This allows you to help a lot more people at scale, right?
Yes, exactly. This scales and I'm me. I can't scale.
Yeah, yeah. You've only got a finite amount of time, and now this allows you to multiply yourself and help more people.
Absolutely.
Love
Absolutely.
that.
And it's just exciting to be able to provide people something that I haven't seen available anywhere else yet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know obviously there's a lot of like people have these preconceived ideas about hypnotherapy, hypnosis, etc. What are some preconceptions people have that are misconceptions about
Oh,
hypnotherapy?
there's quite a few of them out there. A big one is that hypnosis is it's not real or it's immaterial. Or, hypnosis for a long time kind of lived in the world of ghosts and the paranormal, right? And what we know now is thanks to some advanced research, putting people in MRI machines, we can see that people who are in a state of hypnosis have dialed down certain parts of their brain. So we didn't have a way to look into the brain before. So, of course, we thought it was weird and inexplicable. But now we know that it actually does impact your brain. Now, do we know exactly how it works? No. But do we know it's doing something? Yes. And it's really more a matter of watching the results, like if you get good results and it's not hurting you or anybody else, then why not try? Hypnotherapy, another thing about hypnosis is that people think that their hypnotherapist is going to be able to get them to do things they would never do. Well, that's just not true. In hypnosis, I can persuade people of things that are like within the range of things they would believe, but not beyond it. So if a client comes to me and says, Michelle, can you help me lose 50 pounds? And I said, I will ask them, well, how much do you think you can lose? Well, I want to lose 50, but I think I can lose 20. Okay, we're going to work on 20 pounds. And after you lose 20 pounds, we'll help you lose 20 more. And we'll just do that until we're done. So you take the problem and then break it down into the pieces that the client is ready to work on at any particular time, solve that, and then move along. Does that make sense, Sean?
Yeah, it does. That really does.
But a lot of people don't think it works. They don't think it whatever. And it's like, you know what? Like, would it hurt to try?
Yeah.
And there are things that hypnotherapy can help with that there aren't a lot of other therapies that address. If you're afraid of heights, there's really, I mean, I guess you could take a anti-anxiety pill or something, but to get over it, there's not that many techniques. This is one technique.
Yeah. Totally makes sense. I imagine a lot of people probably think of hypnosis strictly as that thing that they do on stage or on cruises, that sort of thing, just to go for show. But it's awesome to see these used for the better.
Yeah, and some people get really upset. They're like, "Oh, there shouldn't be shows with hypnosis because it gives the whole thing a bad rap." I'm like, I don't know. I don't really care that much. The point is that all those people who are doing funny stuff on a hypnosis show, they're there because it's okay with them to be there.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be on the stage if they didn't want to be on the stage. Sometimes people think, "Oh, they were all, moles or planted in the audience." No, if it's a big audience, you can find somebody who'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. We work a lot in the recovery space. I talk to a lot of people in substance use disorder treatment facilities. Kind of where's the overlap with hypnotherapy and substance use treatment?
So, hypnotherapy can be very helpful for people who are in an addiction or that kind of a space to be able to get over what they need to get over. It can be very helpful. That being said, I think there is definitely, I just know too many people who've had alcohol problems where a recovery program, an AA program was really essential to their to their process, to what they needed to do. I don't usually work with addicts because usually people who are in a real strong addicted part, except for smoking addicts, I would say,
Yep. Yep.
except for smoking addicts. I do smoking addicts, but I do also use hypnotherapy. I've used it for many people who just want to cut back. People who maybe aren't really in the addict category, but they have developed a habit of drinking, say, drinking more than they want. I had a client a few years ago who came to me and she says, "Here's the thing." She's like, "I really like pairing my wines with my dinner. Isn't that nice? But the problem is I drink the whole bottle of wine by myself. I would like to drink a glass of wine by myself." Okay. So I helped her get from drinking a bottle a night to drinking a glass a night. Well, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's huge. And I've helped several people to dramatically cut back on specifically on alcohol. It also works for smoking. Does it work for all smokers? No. Smokers to quit, they need a certain amount of a compelling, like, this is the time I'm going to do this. And smokers can quit pretty fast. So it's fantastic to think that, I can do something that would help people drop a really ugly habit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, with your tool, Make My Hypno, being able to help people at scale, like you said, you've only got a certain amount of time to
Now I
help
will
people
be
with
I will be
these.
honest about that. So when you go to Make My Hypno, there
Mhm.
are 18 things that I have it set up to do right now. So now there's 18 things. There's sleep, there's overeating, there's exercise. There's a ton of things on that list. There are a few things that aren't on that list. And the reason why they're not on that list is because I think that personal with a professional like me, hypnosis therapy is much more effective. As an
Absolutely.
example, smoking is not on Make My Hypno because I find that personal hypnotherapy is much more effective.
Absolutely. And obviously, with AI, as we've mentioned before, there's all these enhancements, but nothing can really replace humans.
No. This is an
I,
augmentation.
yeah,
It is a helpful technique, an add-on, but when somebody has something that's very big or very emotional or kinda hard, personal direct hypnosis or hypnotherapy is much more effective than listening to recordings. Often, even before I invented Make My Hypno, I would make recordings for my clients and send them to them to have them use between sessions because that repetition is so helpful to overcoming a challenge.
absolutely. I love that. And obviously, a big portion of, I mean, not to, you know, put hypnotherapy with recovery, but it is recovery from overeating and these things like breaking through these barriers. It's a matter of consistency. And those recordings allow your clients to be consistent with it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and believing that you can be consistent, you
Yep.
know? It's kinda like the beginning thing, somebody was like, "Well, is this gonna work?" And I'm like, "Well, it's not gonna work if you don't think it's gonna work. You have to have some faith in the therapy for it to work."
Absolutely.
And that's just but, I mean, I think that's true about anything, you know? A massage is not gonna feel good if you don't think a massage is gonna feel good.
Yep. Yep. It's the mind is a powerful thing, like you have to be ready and willing, but even being ready and willing doesn't overcome obstacles for you.
Right, right. Right. Now, what is amazing about hypnosis is it doesn't overcome things, but it can kind of switch things around. For example, and it can make you, because you're playing with the subconscious mind, it can help change patterns that have been going on in this time along in the subconscious mind a long time. So, for example, a couple years ago, I had a client who had a terrible habit. She had started about age 13 and she was retiring. She was in her early 60s of pulling her hair, and she would get stressed and she would pull her hair out one hair at a time. And she had this whole patch of missing hair behind her ear where she had pulled it out. And part of the work that I did with her was to help her become aware of when her hand was headed to her. eh, And so she developed this new awareness by using hypnosis of the movement of her hand. And that wasn't the whole thing, but that was part of it, was that she became more aware and she could look at her hand and go, "Oh, I don't wanna do that anymore," and stop. And, we were able to get her past a nasty habit she'd had for 50 years. It's amazing.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like you said, it just brings that awareness and just like being able to do that check in and just say, hey, this is something I want to break and I'm about to go back into that habit just allows us to break out of those ruts that we
And
get
we
into.
all get in ruts. We all get in ruts, sometimes they're bad ones like pulling your hair, sometimes they're eating too much sugar.
Mhm.
We all do things. That's what we're here to
Yep.
do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I guess with your Make My Hypno, I know we talked about how there are 18 things on your site that it does, and there are some things that it doesn't, where you have identified having a personal session with a licensed hypnotherapist will do the most good. Where are, I guess, your top, I don't want to say issues, but like top pain points people have that the AI recording genuinely excels at helping?
I would say anxiety. Anxiety. Now, there's lots of different kinds of anxiety, and my app actually does break it into a few different categories, but anxiety is just huge. And learning to self regulate through hypnosis, through Make My Hypno or other recordings or personal work, it can be so helpful and therapeutic for people who are kind of running on high all the time. Um, I assure my clients, it's like, it's okay to be stressed. If you're not stressed a little bit, then you're not growing. You're never going to get outside your comfort zone. But we've gotten to a place where so many people are experiencing that stress all the time that it's turning into making them constantly anxious. And we're not designed for that. We're designed for highs and lows, but we got to find the way to be able to control one's thinking. So, as a general category, anxiety is probably the most requested.
That makes total sense. I mean, my wife and I, mostly my wife, she has anxiety and we talk things through. And I'm not a licensed therapist by any means, but I do my best to help. So I think definitely a tool like Make My Hypno really helps people in my situation, my wife's situation, to overcome that anxiety. So
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tool, right?
Mm,
It's a tool. And I'm here for the people that this tool is not big enough for, right? Because it's been interesting. I went to an AI in hypnotherapy conference last week. Is AI is coming to take the jobs of people I used to work with, copywriters and designers, and there's all kinds of things that are now achievable in AI that I couldn't have imagined a computer doing a few years ago. I don't see hypnotherapy being eaten up by AI anytime soon because there's so much that happens between the therapist and the individual. So, whether I'm working with someone online or I'm working with someone in person, there's a lot of observing and tweaking and customizing. And if somebody twitches or somebody gets nervous, I change what I'm doing. AI ain't going to be smart enough to do that for a long time.
yeah,
I'm not saying
absolutely.
never, but it's a long way away before an AI interface of some kind could replace the personalism and professionalism of a therapist.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. And it's like we talked about before, AI can do a lot of great things and optimize a lot of things, but there's still so much value in that human element in the personalization. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't in my mind make my hypno and my personal services like I guess they kind of connect, but one is good for one thing and one is good for something else. So I think of them as being kind of distinct. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah, totally. And with AI, like I've long standing held the opinion that even though things like copywriters and designers we think of can be replaced by AI, I think it even makes a human copywriter and a human graphic designer that much more valuable just because you can get this AI generated stuff, but having somebody who has that knowledge and that study and that style, like a human style, is so valuable in that regard.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, I think AI is a little better, right? Last year was the year of the six fingers, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
this year the six fingers aren't quite as prevalent, but we need experienced people to be able to look at this and go, "Yeah, this is good," or, "Oh, back to the drawing board," because it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't
Absolutely.
sound right, it doesn't look right, there's something off about it. I mean, I'm excited to be kind of on the AI train, but it
Yeah,
is a little terrifying
it is.
because I who knows where all this is going, And I can control like what is pretty much what I
Yeah.
have going on in my app. I have a number of ways that's controlled technically.
Mhm.
But, where else will things go? What deep fakes will show up next week? How do we ensure people know how to find the truth? There's a lot of There's a lot of uncertainty, I guess, in what comes next.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, maybe someday you're talking to somebody that you think is real and they're AI, right?
Oh, I went to a networking presentation about a year or 2 ago, and the banker was presenting, and he showed us this woman talking on the screen, and she seemed totally real. And he was like, "Actually, that's not a real person." And he's like, "Could someone talk you out of your money, who's not even a real person?"
Yeah.
He's like, "This is why you should work with me. Know your banker." And I was like, "Ooh, wow, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
That's a new
It's
angle on
scary.
hire me."
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Michelle, again, thanks so much for spending time with me and running us through Make My Hypno. I want to make sure, of course, we talk about everything top of mind for you. But I guess, is there anything you're really excited about in the AI space with hypnotherapy? Anything that's up and
Just
coming?
excited to see where it all goes. And like I said, I'm a little uncertain and a little terrified too, but there are great use cases for it. And I'm excited to work on this one and talk to more people about it, discover more potential use cases for it. I mean, at the end of the day, I want people to live their best lives.
Yeah,
That's kind of
absolutely.
it. And to the extent that I can help them in any way I can help them, I want to be able to do that. So, thank you, Sean, for having me on today. This has been so much fun.
Of course. And it's been great having you here. One last question before we finish up. I always ask this. Do you have any book recommendations? I know you mentioned the Hypnotherapist and Love book, but
Oh, that's a good book.
any other
The
books?
other book I'm going to recommend is mine.
All right.
I wrote a book. I've written 2 books, but the book that I think may be a better fit for your listeners is my book called An Alignment of Spirit: Finding Work You Love. And I wrote it in 2022. It's a book about kind of how to manifest things, how to get what you want. And I wrote it from the perspective of being a person who got a lot of jobs when I was in digital marketing. My jobs changed
Yep.
all the time. But the concept is so valuable to people. And if it's something that your listeners are interested in, checking out An Alignment of Spirit: Finding Work You Love might be a good read.
Love that. And I'll have to check it out too. I'm all about these sort of books, making sure that I am doing everything I can to, be the
I
best
think
person
you're
I
gonna
can.
like it.
And I think so too. Awesome. Well, thanks again for having or for coming on the show, Michelle. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it.